In December 1900, 3 lighthouse keepers disappeared from a remote Scottish island without a single trace. No bodies, no struggle, just an empty lighthouse where the light had gone dark. If you've seen other videos on this case, you've probably heard about a logbook full of storms, a crying keeper, and 3 men praying together in their final hours before writing "God is over all" as their last words. Almost none of that actually happened. It's fiction, and it's been repeated as fact for over a century. By the end of this video, you'll know what the real logbook actually said, what investigators genuinely found inside that lighthouse, and why the true explanation is stranger than the version everyone keeps repeating. This is the real story of the Flannan Isles Lighthouse keepers. The Flannan Isles sit in the Outer Hebrides, off the northwest coast of Scotland, a cluster of small, uninhabited islands battered constantly by the North Atlantic. In 1899, a lighthouse was built on the largest of them, Eilean Mor, to warn ships away from the rocks. It was staffed by 3 keepers on rotating shifts: head keeper James Ducat, junior keeper Thomas Marshall, and a stand-in occasional keeper named Donald MacArthur, filling in for a sick colleague. On the night of December 15, 1900, the steamship Archtor was passing the islands on its way to port in Leith. Its crew noticed something wrong. The lighthouse, which should have been lit and rotating its beam through the dark, was completely dark. They didn't have a way to report it immediately, and by the time the ship docked and the news reached the Northern Lighthouse Board, several days had already passed. A relief vessel called the Hesperus was sent out to investigate. Arriving at the island on December 26, Captain Jim Harvey sounded the ship's horn and fired a flare, hoping to get some response from the tower. Nothing came back. Relief keeper Joseph Moore rowed ashore alone and climbed the 160 steps up to the lighthouse. What he found became one of the most retold mysteries in maritime history. And this is the part where accounts genuinely start to diverge, according to the official investigation led by Northern Lighthouse Board Superintendent Robert Muirhead, who arrived shortly after and interviewed everyone involved. Several details were consistently documented. The beds were unmade. A meal of cold meat, bread and cheese sat untouched on the table. A chair near that table had been knocked over. The kitchen clock had stopped. 2 sets of oilskin coats were missing from their hooks, meaning at least 2 of the 3 men had gone outside into the weather, while 1 set remained behind. There was no sign of any of the 3 men anywhere on the island. Moore and the sailors who came ashore with him searched what they could, but found nothing. No bodies were ever recovered, not that day and not in the years afterward. Muirhead also inspected the western landing, one of 2 places on the island, where boats or supplies could be brought ashore during better weather. He found equipment there damaged and displaced in a way that suggested a very large wave had struck the area with serious force, consistent with a major storm. Based on everything documented at the scene, Muirhead's working theory was straightforward. 2 of the men had gone to the western landing to secure equipment during rough weather, and a large wave swept them into the sea. The 3rd man, seeing this happen from the tower, may have rushed out to help and been caught by the same wave or a following one. It's a grim, plausible explanation. It's also, notably, not the version most people have heard. Here's where this case takes a strange turn, and it has nothing to do with the island itself. Sometime after the initial investigation, a version of the lighthouse logbook began circulating that included dramatic, unsettling entries supposedly written by the keepers in their final days. According to this version, Marshall wrote on December 12th that a storm had hit unlike anything he'd seen in 20 years. Ducat, normally calm, had gone quiet. MacArthur, described as a big, tough man, was crying. A day later, the log allegedly showed all 3 men praying together in the middle of the storm. The final entry, dated December 15th, closed with the line, "Storm ended, sea calm. God is over all." This version has been repeated in newspapers, books, TV documentaries, and yes, a large number of YouTube videos covering this exact case. It's dramatic, quotable, and deeply memorable. It's also almost certainly fabricated. Historians who examined the actual surviving records found no evidence these lines were ever written. What Muirhead genuinely transcribed from the station's slate, the everyday board keepers used to log conditions before transferring them to the official book, contained nothing but routine entries: barometer readings, thermometer readings, wind direction and speed, the time the light was extinguished each morning. No storms described as unprecedented. No mention of weeping, no prayer, no final message about God. The dramatic version appears to trace back to a 1912 poem called Flannan Isle, written by Wilfrid Wilson Gibson, along with sensationalized magazine retellings that followed it. Over the following decades, the fictional version and the real documented findings blended together so thoroughly that most retellings today no longer distinguish between them. The false logbook entries have even been adapted into other fiction since, including a 1977 Doctor Who serial that borrowed the premise directly. This matters for more than just accuracy. It changes the entire emotional tone of the case. The popular version paints a picture of three men spiraling into fear and religious panic before a supernatural ending. The real documented version is quieter and in some ways more unsettling. Three professional lighthouse keepers were doing their ordinary, unremarkable jobs, recording wind speed and barometer readings exactly as they had every day before. Then, at some point after their last routine entry, something happened quickly enough that no one had time to write anything else down at all. There was no warning in the record, no build-up, just routine and then silence. Strip away the invented logbook, and what's left is still a genuine, unresolved mystery, just a different kind. Muirhead's official conclusion, that two men were swept away securing equipment and the third died trying to help them, fits the physical evidence reasonably well. Storm damage was real. Equipment was genuinely displaced at the western landing. The Atlantic around these islands is violent enough that bodies going unrecovered isn't unusual at all. But the theory has a real, logical problem that's kept the case open for over a century. If MacArthur saw his colleagues in danger and rushed out to help, why did he take the time to carefully close the inner door? The outer door and the compound gate behind him on his way out? That's not the behavior of someone in a sudden, desperate emergency. It's the behavior of someone leaving in a controlled, deliberate way. That single detail is why alternative theories have never fully gone away. Over the past century, people have proposed everything from a rogue wave catching all three men at once, to one of the keepers snapping and attacking the others before falling or fleeing himself, to far less grounded ideas involving ghost ships and sea creatures. None of these alternate theories have physical evidence behind them, the way Muirhead's wave theory does, but none of them fully explain that locked gate either. The lighthouse continued operating with new keepers after the incident, and it developed a reputation among lighthouse crews as an unsettling posting for years afterward. In 1971, it was automated, and no keeper has lived on Eilean Mor since. Today, the tower still stands, maintained but empty, visited occasionally by researchers and seabird counts, standing over the same rocks where three men did their final, ordinary shift and then vanished completely. So let's go back to where we started. What did the real logbook actually say? Nothing dramatic at all. Wind speed, barometer readings, and the time the light went out. No prayers, no tears, no final message. That version was fiction, born from a poem, not from the lighthouse. What did investigators genuinely find? An unfinished meal, an overturned chair, a stopped clock, and two missing coats, all pointing toward a fast, chaotic exit into bad weather. And why is the true explanation stranger than the popular one? Because there was no warning, no spiraling fear building for days, just an ordinary shift, quietly logged exactly like every other, and then nothing. Do you think Muirhead's wave theory is the full story? Or does that locked gate change things for you? Let me know what you think actually happened on that island. If you're into cases where the real story turns out to be more interesting than the myth everyone repeats, subscribe. This channel is built entirely around digging past the version everyone already knows.